Good evening, guys. Welcome to week 7. Today, we are going to be looking at crafting an effective CV and resume and also cover letter. Right? CV can be called resume can be called CV. Today, we are going to be talking about 5 point agenda. The first one is about this week activity. We are going to be looking at crafting an effective CV or resume, everything that we need to know about that. We're going to be looking at how to write an effective cover letter also, things we need to do this week, and last is Q&A. So I want you guys to pay attention. Okay, so about this week, we are going to be looking at crafting an effective CV or resume and cover letter. Last week we rounded up on creating our portfolio, and the previous weeks we looked at US case study, creating a US case study. Okay, so now let's look at crafting an effective CV or resume. So the first thing we're going to be talking about today as regard this is structuring your US resume, the ground rules, the rules you need to apply to your resume, things you need to avoid, key insights and best practices, and an example of a US resume. So the model we are going to be using, the example, right? So let's look at structuring your US resume. So the first thing you need to make sure you have in your US resume or in your resume is your name, boldly written, title, that is UX designer, product designer, US researcher, depending on your title, and contact information. So contact information can should be your email, your phone number, and when you're writing your phone number, you should use the international code of your country. For example, if you're a Nigerian, the international code is +234. Then it starts with 8. You take out the first zero, right? If you are in, just use your international country number, right? International country code, I mean. So the next thing you also want to make sure you have in your resume is your experience in a chronological order. That is, what that means is that how you started, how you gathered those experience, where you worked. If let's say in 2020 you worked in firm A, right? You need to that one needs to come first. That if that's the first experience, that needs to come first. Then, you know, you add your resume in that order, and part of your experience, you want to add the company you've worked in, what you did in that company. That is, oh, you led a company that raised $2 million in a black. Just talk about your experience in a way that when a recruiter sees it, they will be so interested to say, oh, this is actually a good experience. This is nice. The third one is education. You want to put your education there, your university, what you studied, right, and year you graduated, also, and the fourth thing you want to add is awards and professional development. If you've collected award before as regard your skill, you also want to add it. Professional development, like let's say you took a very high level course. Let's say, for example, there are some organization courses that if you take, you want to put it in your resume so that anybody that wants to hire you will know that yes, this person is hot cake. But if you don't have the award or professional development, right, it doesn't stop you. You can still create your resume without this. It's just like something that would be nice for you to have. The fifth thing that you also want to look at is your skills and tools. So for these skills and tools, in recent. So I think this skills and tool is something that you probably you don't want to add, and you might want to add, right? So it's a thing of choice. And the reason why I added this, I shouldn't have added skills and tools, but the reason why I added it is for some company they might want to see it. For some, it might be like a turn off, right? And the reason why I said it's a turn off is, most of all these recruiter they use ATS. They use a tool in filtering, resume, and sometimes they put in the name of the tool that they don't even want to see in the resume. And if you in the resume, if you have all this keyword, let's say for example you put Adobe or Figma, for example, right? It will just bounce off your resume, right? So you might put it and you might not want to put it, but for now let's just leave it here. And the sixth thing is other languages. That is, if you speak English, if you speak French, if you are an English speaker, if your native language is English and you also speak other languages like, let's say, French, Spanish, you probably want to add it, right? It could be something that will be of value to the company that you want to work in. Now, the next thing that you also want to look at is the ground rules, right? The ground rules. And the first one is very, very important. And a lot of people, right, they make that mistake. Like, they make the mistake a lot, is typos, right? You need to avoid typos in your resume. So that means that when you are done crafting your resume, writing your resume for the first time, you need to go over it again. Like, go over it line by line, text by text again, to know that you are avoiding typos. Because resume, like you said, resume is like the first impression. So just imagine you have like 3 5 typos in your resume. That already shows the kind of person you are. That is, when you are working, there will be a lot of errors in your work, and nobody wants that. You understand? So that's the first thing you need to avoid: typos. The next one is keep an eye on your design. And what I mean is that in your resume, make sure you don't you go straight to the point, right? You don't design, don't bombard. We are still going to talk about that, along the line. Like, you see some people using text, colors, and all these things, right? One thing about resume is you don't want to distract you. You want them to just read, get the insight they want to get, scan through easily, right? So we're going to be also looking at things you need to avoid. So when we get there, I'm going to elaborate more on this. So the last thing on the rule is stick to one page, at most 2 pages. So I've seen a resume that span across like 3 pages, right? Resume shouldn't be long. Resume is not a textbook, right? If you don't have experience, like for example, the reason why I said at most 2 pages is for those that have a lot of experiences. Like, you've worked at 5 companies, obviously you can't put everything in one page because you want to talk about what you've done there, right? But for someone that has, let's say, 2 experience, why are you using 2 pages? It can still fit into one, right? So the essence of this is make it, brief enough for recruiters to easily scan through, your resume. Yes, I'm going to be showing us example, like I said. Okay, so the last thing here is things you need to avoid. There are 10 things you need to avoid, and this list, there is a YouTube channel called NGG Group. So it's a very, very like helpful channel. You're going to learn a lot, and they create like short videos on some very specific topic, right, about UX and things like this. So I gathered it from their YouTube channel, and like is like latest development, right? From what you should avoid, what you shouldn't do. So the first thing here is skills, app, or tech list. So you can see that in the structuring, I put skills and I put skills and tools. Yes. So now on their list, they said when you're writing a resume now, you should avoid putting your skills, app, or tech list, that is tools. So in the video, what the person said was there are some complaints that they use this to filter out, people they don't want. Like, let's say for example, let's be more practical with this. Let's say for example, a complaint wants you to don't want you to, let's say you added Adobe, right, in your skill, and let's say the complaint is Figma, for example, and they don't want anyone that use Adobe, right? Some company can be so petty, you don't know, what they want, right? So you just need to be in the middle, be safe. That's just basically what this is about. So according to that, to the development, to their research, it's been said that avoid using avoid adding your tools app, for example skill, to say, oh, um okay, graphic, I think UX research, all of those titles that we had in our resume, we should avoid it. And also the tech list, to say your stack, you know how to use Slack, Figma, Google Meet, and all those things, right? So the next thing is subheading. So subheading is, you are writing details about you, just like about you, right? You are trying to say, oh, Nana, I'm a product designer with blah blah blah. Avoid all of those things, right? The third one is excessive visual design. So this is where the keep an eye on a good design comes in. So I know that we must have seen some resume where you would see like almost three colors in that resume. You will see someone adding icons, illustrations in a resume, right? All of those things are excessive. You don't want to distract the reader. The main purpose of a resume is to know your experience. It's the experience that matters in a resume. They just want to see the experience, what you've done, and that's all. So why are you now putting in colors and all those things, right? So it's not advisable. The fourth thing is spelling or grammar error. Just like I've said earlier, you need to make sure that you cross-check it over and over and over again. Spelling error and grammar error. Please make sure you avoid that. The fifth thing is inaccessible portfolio links. Inaccessible portfolio links. You don't want the situation whereby your portfolio, in the contact section, you add your emails or your personal website, right? You need to cross-check that the links are working. You don't want, and you add a portfolio link when they can also, your website is your portfolio link, right? You don't want the situation whereby when you click on it, it's not opening. So you need to test it, your resume, before you even start to push it out there. Six is personal projects. So according to their findings, they said don't have personal projects. So personal projects are projects like, let's say for example, you have a product, like a little side project that you're working on, right? Don't add it. That's not like a real experience, right? Let's say you have a dream, or you have an idea, or you want to solve a problem, and you are working on it on the side, right? Don't add it to your portfolio and in your resume. That should be your personal project outside, your resume. It's not an experience, right? The last one is mission and objective statement. So most of us, have this on our resume where we say, oh, my objective is blah blah blah. I want to see the complaint. Like we all we're guilty of this. So we should avoid that also. And the eighth thing here is hobbies and volunteering. Also, we do this a lot, whereby we add our hobbies to say, oh, I like swimming, I like this, I like that. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares about this one, so we should also take it out. And the ninth one is professional references. So professional references is, I think this was in the old resume, right? When the old resume thing started, where people will put references of maybe their previous boss, or someone that has worked, that is a top person in an organization, to say contact. So that also should be avoided in your resume. And the last one is photography or an headshot. So this one is when you put your image in your resume, like It should not be there. And the reason for this is when you put your headshot or photograph or your image in your resume, now what you are doing to yourself is they can screen the kind of person you are. Like, oh, they can just look at the resume and see your picture and be like, oh, we don't want to hire a black person, right? Or we don't want to hire, or I don't want to interview a black person, or I don't want to interview a white person, or okay, this person is still, they, you don't want all of those things, right? You want your work to speak for you, right? You want when they've gone through the resume, they've seen that, oh, this person is good, and at that point, it will be hard for them to even dismiss you because you are the kind of fit. It's the talent that they want. So, according to the research, according to that video, these are things that you need to avoid. Um, yeah, to have a good resume. And the reason why most of these are here also is because of the software recruiters use, which is the ATS software. If you have all of these things here, your resume won't pass the software, and that's why a lot of people keep getting rejection. It's not because what you have is not good enough. It's because you are not getting to the table of the person in charge. It's the software that is just bouncing you out of the whole application process. So I hope we are taking note of all these things. So now there are like key practices, key insights and best practices that we need to also know. There are just four, and the first one is tailor your resume for UX design roles. So now what this means is that some of us, we are transitioning into UX role. Some have worked in, let's say, I know people that have worked in the banking industry before, let's say as a cashier, and now they transition into UX and they are now a UX designer. And if you go on your LinkedIn, it's nice to put, oh, you all the experiences you gather. You work in banking, now you are UX. But when you come to resume, right, you need to make sure that the experience you are putting there should be for UX design alone, right? Because I'm employing you for a UX design role. You are putting that you've worked in a bank. How does that have to do with design? Do you understand? So you want the right information to be there. So start with a strong summary highlight of your expertise, key skills, and years of experience in UX design. You want to emphasize your accomplishment and impact and showcasing specific projects and their outcomes, right? And also, you want to include relevant keywords to ensure your resume gets noticed by application tracking system, which is the ATS software that I told us about, and also human recruiters. So like I said, using right keyword, and avoiding some of the 10 things that I mentioned would make sure that the application tracking system approves or let our resume go to the recruiters table. And also highlighting your proficiency in UX design methodologies is also very, very key. So that's the first one. So the second one is focus on core elements in your portfolio. So what this means is that you should showcase a diverse range of projects that demonstrate your expertise in various UX design aspects, such as research, wireframe, prototyping, user testing, and so on. Now, this is where the US case study comes in. With a single US case study, it shows all of this diverse range. Your UX, your research strengths, your UI strengths, everything. That's what it shows, right? And also, you need to clearly communicate your design process, explaining your approaches, your approach projects for concepts to final deliverable. And that is also what the UX research, the US case study does, right? Also, just like I've said to us, and we already know, case study should highlight the problem statements, research insights, iterations, and the final solution, right? That is what our US case study is about. So, the number two is just talking about your US case study basically. So now the third one is demonstrate your problem solving skill. So this also has been factored into your case study, right? So we all, we understand this already. And with our case study, this is what it's about. Then the last thing here is showcase collaboration and communication skills, right? So I talked about collaboration when we were talking about US case study, and I said if um, for US case study you can collaborate with other designers, right? Whereby one person takes care of the research phase, you take care of the another person take care of the UI, and you guys solve a problem using the normal process that we all know about, and you know we put it together, right? And also, apart from that, you can also state it in your resume how you like how good of a collaborator you are. And the reason why this is very very important is when you are being employed into a team, you want to when you're being employed into a team, right? Or if you are introduced into a team newly, you know that you are going to be working with a lot of people from engineering to designers that are in the company, and they want to see how you can collaborate, how you can communicate, you know, with the stakeholders, with your team members, with other departments, right? So demonstrate your ability to work effectively with cross-functional teams, including product managers, developers, stakeholders, CEO, and anyone else that you need to work with. Share examples of how effective communicated design concepts and rationales to non-design stakeholders. And also, you probably want to highlight, your experience in facilitating design workshop, leading design sprints, or conducting design critiques. So, to do this better is, let's say, for example, you've worked at a company before, and on the project you worked on, you want to you wrote a case study on it. So you want to show what you did, if you led some particular thing, if you spearhead some particular project, you want to just show how you were able to deliver on that project, who you talked to. And that was why if you are working with other designers on a portfolio project, it's important for you to state the people that are on the project, the team, right? If you work on a project before, let's say you were at a company before and you are looking for another job, and you worked on the case study for the project you worked on in that company, you want to show everybody that you've worked with, right? Even down to your stakeholder, to the product manager, and all of those things, right? So the essence of this fourth insight is just to show how of a good collaborator you are, and how you can communicate you um, well when you are working with a team. So now, I know most of us want to see like an example of a US case study, of a US resume, like the good example that you can model with, right? So this particular one, I know if you are, if you use Twitter a lot, you must have seen um, this resume. And there is another guy on Twitter that shared, a resume also, and that has been helpful. It's the same format, right? So you see this particular resume that you are seeing on the screen here. This resume is like the best resume you can have at the moment, right? If you look at it, you can see that all of the things that you need to avoid, like you can't find any of them here. Now, this resume is Harvard standard.
Sorry, I can't see your screen.
You, my screen, like, can who else cannot see my screen? Because
I can see your screen.
I'm joining with another phone and I can see my screen. So probably
I can see your screen.
all right, thank you, Kelvin. Probably you want to leave and join back. My screen is, everyone can see my screen. So please just join back and you'll be able to see it. So, like I said, um, based on everything I've said so far, you can see that this resume, the things you need to avoid, you can't see them here. The things like this resume, like as I was saying, is an Harvard standard resume, right? So the ATS application tracking system tools that all the company uses, this resume will pass through that system. Because if you look at it, it's straight to the point, right? You can see the name clearly written. So now for this, you can see the name and the title is together. Um, for some, you probably want to put your name and the title beneath it, but you know, it's a resume, right? You don't need to start to flex your design skills and all that. It's just the main essence of resume is for people to easily scan through what you've done, your experience, right? The name and the title, you can see your country, your contact, your portfolio link, your email, right? And like I said, you should be able to click it. So now you can see this is a link. When I click on it, it takes me to that website. When I click on this, it opens up my email. Now the experience, you can see now that there is nothing like objective where you start to lie, because most of the time in our objective and mission statement, most of us, all of us, we lie there saying, oh, I want to see the company grow, I want to bring my skills to do this, to do that. Everything are bobo. So you want to go straight. So the experience, just go straight to the experience. List the company you've worked, what you did at that company, the if it's a remote or full time, the country, the time you used in that company, right? Like I said, in a chronological order, right, from where you started to where you stop. Okay, someone said I have a question. Please, I'm going to answer your question. Please just note down the question. When we get to the question and answer section, please, I'm going to answer all of them. All right. So after that, you probably want to add your freelancing, stuff you've done, freelancing, or you can even add the freelancing, as to um, the experience. Let's say, for example, a company hired you as a freelancer to work for a particular period. You add it here. You state what you work, what you did during those period, and the next thing is education, as you can see here. Then, yeah, there is technical skill. So you can see what I said about the skill part. It could be optional, right? So probably sometimes depending on the job application, the job description, you could sense that, oh, okay, for this company, I don't need to add my skill, right? I don't need to have the software, the technical skills, or I need to add. So what you probably want to do is have one resume that have your technical skill and have one that does not have, right? Then when you want to apply, you just use your discretion to say, okay, let me apply with this, or let me apply with the one without technical skill, right? So the last one is methodology. Methodology is where you start to talk about, oh, your design thinking, the type of methodology you use when you're working, design thinking, user research, illustration. You can do illustration, iconography, anything as regard the skill that you want to add there, that could add, this is where the whole keyword thing comes in. So I think someone mentioned keyword. So everything here, all those keywords I think can be helpful, right, to you and to your profession. You can now add them. So after the section, right after today's meeting, I'm going to be sending us um like an editable template that we can use, right? I'm going to send us editable template that we can use in creating our own resume. So um yes. Okay, so before I go to effective cover letter, let me just answer some of our questions. So Adeyemi said, I have a question. Do I need to use my full name, or can I use a nickname? Why do you want to use a nickname for your resume? Like, I don't think this should even be a question. Now you are you want to apply, you are looking to get a job at a company. At that company, why do you want to use a nickname? Is the nickname on your official documents? No. Okay, you said because of racism or something. I don't think anybody can be racial when it comes to name. And even though they want to be racial when it comes to name, if you apply, let's say you use a corny way, because you using a nickname is you being corny. Let's say you use a nickname that sounds, you know, foreign enough, or that sound British, right? Now, when you get into the company, when you are doing your documentation, because when you get an offer, you start to do documentation. You on board, you like submit your official name, your ID card and all those things. They will later get to know your name. Or will they, like, when they are paying you your salary, is it your nickname that is going to be on the payroll? So your name will still be there, and you would they will get to know, and they will take action if they want to take action by that time. So everything that should be on your resume, or any of the things that you're using to apply for a job, should be your real name, your government name. Don't let me use real name. Your government name, a name that is on your official papers, like your ID card, or that is what should be in everything that you're using, down to your resume, your portfolio website, to your um, US case studies. I hope that is clear. All right. So the next part of this is we are going to be looking at how to write an effective cover letter. There are just three categories or sections. The first one is start with the basics. So now, before I even continue, for some jobs, you might not need to write cover letter, right? If any of us on this call have applied to a job using Indeed, right, or using LinkedIn, you must have come across cover letter a lot. There are some jobs on LinkedIn that you apply to, there is no cover letter, right? There are some jobs that you have to write a cover letter, especially when you're using Indeed. There's one other job website that you definitely have to write a cover letter, right? So for cover letters here, you only need to write one, right? Just write one that you know that is comprehensive, is good enough. Then once you are then when you now want to apply for other jobs, what you just need to do is to just change the company name. You're just going to be adding anywhere there's a company name, you just edit it, and you keep on applying. And another thing is, when you've written that one particular good cover letter, you probably, let's say in the job application, they say let's say the job application says UX designer, and in the main cover letter that you wrote is product design that was there. The ideal thing you want to do is to what? Is to change that UX designer, that product designer, to what? To UX design. So you are just going to be editing the role, and also the company name, right? So yeah, so let's get into it. Wait 1 minute. So let's get into it. So like I said, the first thing we're going to be looking at for this is start with the basics. The second one is highlight your past experiences creatively. And the third one is give them something to remember you by. Okay. 1 minute. 1 minute, guys. I want to send a link to these guys. Okay, 1 minute, guys. I'm sending the link to some of the guys on Slack. Okay. Okay. All right. So, let's start with the first one. Start with the basics. So now, the first thing you want to start with is your mailing address. So cover letter is just like you're writing a formal letter, right? We all know how to write a formal letter. So that's what cover letter. You want to start with your mailing address. This is an example of a mailing address, right? To whom it may concern. So you want to do this. When for sometimes you might want to do away with the mailing address. Just start with dear, or to whom it may concern. So the reason why it's better to even use to whom it may concern, as against you using dear sir or ma. is because of the inclusivity, right? You don't want to address, you don't know the person that is going to be receiving your letter. Do you get? You don't know the person that is going to be receiving. You don't know if it's a man, you don't know if it's a woman. And if you start your letter with dear sir and the person is a woman, that's the end. If you start with ma and the person is a man, that's the end. If you use sama, the person might not identify as any of those two. As we all know, inclusivity, you need to the LGBT community, right? There are some people that doesn't identify as a man or a woman, so you need to be very strategic about all of these things. So it's better to just say to whom it may concern. So depending on whatever um, gender you identify as, it still covers that. It's inclusive. You understand? So the second one is your killer introduction paragraph. As you can see on the screen, my name is Alex Juarez, and I'm a fourth year student majoring in international business, writing to express my interest for the marketing internship at Ascent Student Loans. You know, you need to write a killer introduction, an introduction that when I read it, I'll be keen to, like, okay, you understand. So a killer introduction. So this is an example. So that is the first one. Start with the basics. So the second one is highlight your past experiences creatively. So now in the cover letter, you need to also highlight your past experiences. And the first one is work smarter, not harder. We all know what that means. That is, don't just bombard, your cover letter with a lot of things, right? Make sure you are strategic with it. Make sure you hit the you go straight to the point, and still like deliver the best result, right? So this is an example, right? And also you can also go online to look for other examples to give you like better inspiration. um the second part of this is the first paragraph challenge. So now, after your introduction, the first paragraph, the next paragraph that follows, right? You need to make sure, is also of value. It's something that you can, like, when you write, the recruiter would want to meet you, right? So, for example, here it says, my pursuit of extracurricular activities help me garner an understanding of community involvement and relationship building that I hope to bring to Ascent Solution Loans. So you can say that, yeah, you can say the name of the company. So you can say that you mention the name of the company repeatedly in your cover letter. So now when you create that particular one cover letter that you know that, okay, this is solid enough. So the only thing you just want to be doing when you want to apply for other jobs in other companies, to change the company name. Make sure you go through it and change the company name, and don't make a mistake by leaving the previous company name in it, right? And also change the title that you're applying for in the cover letter. And so the third one, which is the last one, is give them something to remember you by. And this, is pretty much simple. Like, you want to conclude with something that, like, if you say something to say that, okay, I think one good example would be, um, you led, let's say for example, you were part of the team that built a company that um, build a fintech solution for 20 million customer, and over the years, blah blah blah, numbers, and saying something that, oh, you'll be like, okay, we'd love to meet this person because this person actually done something huge, right? Or for people that don't have like real-time experience, right? You've not worked in a company before, you want to say that, okay, well, one of your portfolio US case study, after publishing it, right, a lot, you get a lot of insights, a lot of reviews, and you just want to talk about why people should you remember you, right? So they can want to like place you over other people. So that is it. Summarize your key points in your conclusion. And the last thing is, don't forget your custom signature. That is the closing remark, right? Best regard, your signature, or since it's going to be a text, you can't put your signature there, so you put your first name and your title to say product designer, and your contact information, that is your phone number or even your email, right? So this is everything that we need to know when writing a cover letter, right? Like I said, you probably want to get further inspiration, right? Just go on YouTube. You would definitely see some supporting videos that would also help you, in giving you more inspiration to everything that I've said so far. Okay, so things we need to do this week. I'm very sure we all know what we need to do. We need to now start to craft our US resume. We also need to now craft our cover letter, right? So everything that we need to know in doing that, I've said everything, right? So we need to start to do that, starting from even after this meeting, right? Or starting from tomorrow. So now it's time for question and answer. If you have any question as regard everything I've said so far, um, you know, start to drop it in the live chat. And if you want to request the mic, you can also signify with the by raising up your hand with the hand icon, and allow you speak. And also, if you have question as regard our previous weeks, also you can I'll be willing to answer them. Okay, I guess we do not have any other question. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and until next time, have fun and stay fab.